It's 2023 and you're missing that grind of the PvE MMO. The hardcore PvE MMO. The need to group with others. Really, you're missing Everquest, a game like Everquest, not the game that it is today, but the game that it was. But you're a little bit shy of going to Project 1999. There might be a game that's kind of been created just for you, a game that leans into that whole hardcore PvE, like that need to be and work with others, to take your damn time. And that game has actually just made it a little bit easier to play.
For generations, they have sought its power. Ember. No one can tell you where to find it. There are no guides. You must discover the path for yourself. And when the darkness surrounds you, only you can light the way out.
That game is Embers Adrift, an independently created MMO that has really kind of been working hard on their game over the last couple months since they launched last year. And it's something I want to highlight here with a massive change to their payment model, as well as some new upcoming content that's really sounding pretty damn interesting. And if you're a fan of Everquest, you might want to stick around as we talk a little bit about, dare I say, epic quests? Embers Adrift is a low fantasy independently developed MMO from Stormhaven Studios that released last year, promising challenging group-based gameplay and an immersive experience that has a strong focus on community. It's a game built in Unity engine by a team of just about 10 people. You know, about half of the team that is currently over at Broadsword that will be taking over Star Wars: The Old Republic. It is billed as a hardcore PvE MMO with no cash shop or microtransactions to speak of. And that honest and straightforward monetization policy isn't actually changing, it's just being made a little bit more permeable. One of the biggest changes coming to Embers Adrift is one that I'm going to be brutally honest about. It is a change that I felt was necessary for this game, because when the game launched, it launched with a premium subscription fee and a high box price. I saw this as a huge misstep because that was putting Embers Adrift in a different category of competition, an independently developed MMO that was now going to be compared against games like Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft, games with infinitely more resources and time that they had to develop and put content into their game. And if you were charging the same amount for that, the comparisons were going to be inevitable. When you ask for a premium price of anything, especially a video game, you are expecting a premium product, you know, like Gollum.
That's a joke!
But Embers Adrift has changed that. They're moving to a buy-to-play model with an optional sub, not unlike a game like Elder Scrolls Online. Let's break down the new optional sub and what we can expect. Embers Adrift will be keeping their subscription at $9.99, a drop from its initial planned launch subscription cost of $14.99. I don't believe it ever reached $14.99 as they launched with a special promotion for early adopters, but that change was made back in February, and it looks like they're maintaining it for the optional version that's coming at the end of June. They will also be keeping the upfront cost at $29.99, which is still a drop from their original planned non-promotional price of $39.99. Keeping these lowered prices and making the sub optional will hopefully make the game much more accessible and competitive in a market while still allowing the continued development of the game. This is not the kind of thing where with an optional sub you have unnecessary restrictions that really kind of force you into paying for it. This is actually what it seems like, a way to continue to support the game, but also encouraging more growth of the community of the game. People will be able to buy the game and have unrestricted access to the world and be able to play all classes and use all gear. But Embers is still making the subscriptions enticing, as they have added some minor restrictions on buy-to-play players. You will get 1 active character slot out of the normal 3, restricted access to your stash and bank, and restricted emote access, as well as restricted portrait selection. The only part of this that is concerning to me is the stash and bank restrictions, but if they don't overdo it, I'm sure it'll be fine. Elder Scrolls Online still works with their inventory restrictions after all, even though it is very encouraged to have the crafting bag that comes with their optional subscription. The bonuses for the subscription increase the incentive to pay for it. First, you will get additional character slots, and it sounds like they are increasing it further than what it currently is, with 3+ slots. You'll have full access to your stash, bank, emotes, and portrait selection, as well as getting a subscriber-only chat channel so you don't have to deal with the riffraff like me who will probably be playing without a subscription at least for a little while. You will get chat tags to show that you are a supporter and titles to do the same. And in a move that really brings to mind the crafting bag perk from Elder Scrolls Online, you will also get a portable crafting station, which thankfully is usable by all nearby players, as well as a ring with a healing enhancement that also extends to nearby players. I like that with both of these perks, it sounds like your group in a social game will benefit from someone who's a subscriber while also not locking out players who aren't. Of course, there is one additional perk here. If you believe in indie MMOs and the hardcore PvE MMO style, you can continue to directly support the game's development, something they've been showing that they're actually doing, putting in the work themselves by adding new free content since launch, which is something we should really highlight. Part of their big May update included the Flooded Ruins and Drolsk's Lair. I'm probably mispronouncing that, I apologize. Ember Veins, which I think is kind of like their dungeons. I'm not entirely sure. I have not played this game very much, though I do plan to jump in again. These are areas with unique bosses and loot. It's not these specific areas I necessarily want to highlight though they do look pretty damn cool. But the fact that this content was added for free, something to consider when you're looking at that optional subscription. This small team is hard at work putting their heart into the game to improve it with patches and new content. It certainly isn't stopping with this update though. Let's move over here to the roadmap for 2023. We can see everything they've accomplished so far and what is still planned for the rest of the year. And it's a lot. New zones in Q3 and Q4 include the Highland Hills, Grizzled Peaks, as well as third sections of the Forgotten Depths and Grimstone Canyon. New dungeons, additional layers to crafting professions like alchemy, new creatures to slay, new storylines, and perhaps, especially intriguing to Everquest players, epic weapon quests. If this sounds interesting to you, you can actually jump into Embers Adrift right now. I've linked their website below, and their pivot to the buy-to-play will start at the end of June 2023, but the pricing structure remains the same at the moment. If you do plan to try the game though, I want to stress a tenet of this MMO so that you're going into it really understanding what you're getting yourself into and why it's going to appeal to an audience that really enjoyed Everquest at the beginning of Everquest. And it was something that they talked about in their June 2023 live stream.
To speak about something that work well with certain player and work less well with some other player, which is the kind of slowness or the progression, the relatively slow progression of how our game work, how the story is developing, how the zone are progressing. So at first you encounter a lot of mundane zone. Some people were like, oh, but this is boring, we're just fighting boring bears, etc. But the people that have the patience and that go through it can see the slow progression of it, and it can really capture people. I do believe that if you have the patience, it is beautiful because it doesn't happen in one shot. It doesn't happen fast. So This is the subject of discussion I'm proposing right now. What do you have to say, guys?
Yeah, I think you kind of miss out on something if you just try to rush through. Um, we have a lot of unique mobs in the game, tons of rare loot, like, but not only that, like, our quests have multiple endings, so, you know, if you're just kind of rushing through the quests just to get, like, the loot and to move on to the next zone, you're going to miss out on some of the little details, some of the lore, you know, and as we add more and more of the lore tidbits throughout the world, like, it's going to be worth your time to kind of, like, examine things and kind of look for those special nuggets of gold lore stuff as we go. So
Embers Adrift is a game that appeals to a more old school mindset of taking your time and finding and exploring. I only played the game for a short time period during the free weekend myself, but it was evident from the moment I logged in just how much the game was harking back to older MMOs like classic Everquest, which you may remember also launched with no maps. If you enjoy that sort of slower paced social gameplay, I'd really suggest giving Embers Adrift a try. I certainly will be when I can fit it into my schedule. But there are plenty of other great creators who already do play Embers Adrift and have a lot more information on the game than I do, and I have linked them all down below so you can go check them out either here on YouTube or on Twitch. Feel free to add in the comments down below if I have missed some of your favorite creators in this, and I will add them to the description as well. I really support these kind of in development indie MMOs. I think they are I think they're the types of games in many ways that are trying to bring back the things that we lost, the things that have kind of drifted away. There are teams that are trying to put forth a game that they want to play, which is really where a lot of the MMOs came from. Games that the developers wanted to play. Generally thinking, with these indie MMOs, I think you're going to kind of assume that they're not going to have the same kind of content that you would expect in a AAA MMO, simply because they have less money and time. The teams are going to be smaller, but the teams are passionate and they're trying to make a game that you will love. And I have seen it in the comment sections whenever I bring up games. A lot of people will mention Embers Adrift. People are passionate about this game, and you'll probably see it in the comment section down below in this video. People that are playing this game love this game. They want it to succeed, and the team is working to make it succeed. And this move, while I am sure could not have been an easy decision to lower your price points, it's a good one in my opinion, because I hope it will allow more people to try this game and see if this hardcore PvE style is something for you. And perhaps they're on to something with this struggle that leads into reward, something that Josh Drive Hayes actually covered in a very good video, which I also tried to cover and comment on in kind of fumbled around in this video over here, where I commented on the need for struggle in an MMO to kind of create this connection to it. So if you want to see my thoughts on struggle in MMO and really the classic MMO, take a look at that video. My name is Ritter Flynn. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day and hope you get to enjoy Embers Adrift if it sounds interesting to you.